Hi, folks. My name is Girish Bally, the host for Back to Basics, another Back to Basics for another week. Today, we're going to talk to you about menopause. Yes, it's a difficult topic. It is a different topic for Back to Basics, but you know what? It needs to be talked out as to where the spark is gone. And I think this guest of mine has her information on the website, and it says, get your spark back. And how do we get that spark back? What do we need to do in order to do that? Do men have menopause or just ladies in general? So we're going to go and talk about that with our guest today. Her name is Alison. Great person to chat with. I spoke with her weeks back, and it seems like we are in the same level when it comes to certain topics, including menopause, obviously. So, Alison, how are you? And thanks for coming to Back to Basics.
Oh, thank you, Yuris. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for having me on and being able to talk about menopause, because it is, like you say, a subject that really needs to be spoken about more.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again, Alison, for being on Back to Basics and supporting me. Before we start the whole topic and what you do and what you don't do and all the menopause stuff, what does Back to Basic mean to you?
Yeah, back to basic means to me that life doesn't have to be as complicated as we make it. Getting back to the basic things, improves health. Really simple things in life are normally the ones that are most beneficial for your health, such as sleep, good nutrition, stress management, and movement. It doesn't have to be get back to the basics, the things that make you feel good.
Yeah. So thank you again for that. So first of all, before we get into the details of what we're going to talk about, first of all, what is menopause? I mean, we kind of know it, but a lot of people, they don't know it. So can you just explain what that is first before we do that?
Yeah, sure. Great question, because that is so important. It's like you say, it's a word that's used, but we don't know. Many people don't really understand what it truly means. And to explain it, really, you have to explain the different stages of menopause, because there are different stages. And the first stage is called perimenopause. And this is a phase on average. Obviously, it's women are very individual, but on average, this starts around the age of 45. It can start earlier. And this goes on until we go into what we call menopause. Perimenopause is where your hormones, you're still having periods, but your hormones are very, up and down. Your estrogen, your progesterone is all over the place. And that can lead to many different symptoms like mood swings, anxiety, hot flushes, weight gain. I mean, the list goes on of different symptoms that you may experience or not. So that phase goes on. Again, it's difficult to say exactly how long this goes on for, but it goes on until we come into what we call menopause. And menopause is actually the word that we use when you haven't had a period for a year, a full year straight. You are actually then in menopause. So you're not ovulating anymore. You're not fertile anymore. So you're in menopause. And this, on average, 51, 52 years of age. But again, it's very, very varied depending on the person. And then once you're in menopause and you're not menstruating anymore, you then are in what we call post-menopause. So you're in the next phase of your life. And I mean, post-menopause can go on for 30 plus years. We live so much longer now. 100, 200 years ago, women didn't really live that much longer when they hit menopause. So it's so important to have that quality of life, because there's many, many years left that, there's lots to be done. So, looking after yourself in this time period is crucial.
Yeah, Alison, thank you again for that. But when people, they use the word menopause loosely, when I say loosely, I mean they don't really know much about it, but they always they say that it's an illness, and it's not an illness. It's a stage of life, isn't it? So can you explain to people that it's not an illness? It's actually just a stage of life when people they go through this.
Absolutely. That's what I say as well to my clients, that it's a totally natural phase of life. It's not a disease. This is, every single woman on the planet will go through perimenopause and menopause, and it's just another phase in life. And your hormones are declining, and you will gradually stop producing estrogen from your ovaries. But it is a totally natural process. In a way, we should embrace it as a woman and think, I'm going into a different phase of my life. So it shouldn't. There's quite a negative aura attached around menopause. I know when my mother and my grandmother were going through it, they didn't talk about it. It was more, you just get on with it. But, you don't talk about things like that. Whereas I don't know what it's like in the US, but in Europe now, there's a bit of a menopause revolution going on, and the awareness is becoming a lot greater, and women are starting to say, hold on a minute, I actually want help with this, and I want to understand it, and I want my doctor to help me. It's getting there, but there's still a lot more. There's more research needed and more knowledge in the general public of what they can do and how they can support themselves.
Yeah. So thank you again for that. Back in the time during menopause time, back in the olden times, right, and compared to today, do you think the lifestyle has changed? Because it looks like people, they still do the same thing back in the days, and nowadays they're focused on running and eating well and being on the fitness side. And what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think the thought process has changed over the years?
Yeah, great question. I always go back to my grandmother. When she was just so healthy, and she didn't do. I think how we live, or not everyone obviously, but in general, we want quick fixes, don't we now? And like you say, we're very focused on, I should be eating that way, I should be working out, there was more balance, I think, when years ago people weren't as obsessed with things. They were more, I'm just having more of a balanced life, and there was a much less stress. I think stress in the modern society now is terrible for our health, but more of a balance. And the food chain obviously isn't what it used to be years ago. That's a whole another podcast, isn't it? But big food and we're so subjected to all this fast food and what we call the standard American diet, which is basically just full of processed sugary foods, which doesn't benefit your health in many aspects. So society has changed in some ways for our health for the worst, in the more natural things like the food and everything.
Alison, thank you again. When you were talking about food and nutrition and eating well, what I have observed over the years, it looks like young girls, they are getting periods early as compared to before. Do you think it's the food that we're eating now, and that we're not eating more natural food versus processed food? What are your thoughts on that part?
Yeah, there isn't so much research on that, but there has been suggestions. It's difficult really to answer that question because I don't think we really know
No,
yet.
I mean, there's no right and wrong answer. It's just your
No,
opinion.
but that is very true. Young girls have started their periods much earlier, and it could be down to things such as estrogens, like they're called xenoestrogens, and they're actually they mimic estrogen, and they can be found in many different things, like your plastics, or cleaning products, fertilizers that we use on the garden. There's so many things that have these xenoestrogens that can stimulate the body, hormonally in a different way. And you're also on foods, because they spray all these the products that we eat with these fertilizers. So my personal opinion is that it is society, that it is the way, the things that we've changed that has maybe caused this, that women or girls are having periods much earlier.
Yeah. So thank you again, Alison. It was just a thought process when you mentioned about food and nutrition, and how young girls they get early due to those things, and it's just my observation, nothing else. So thank you again for answering that. Now, when people they go through menopause in the stages now, what do they need to do in order to, I guess, focus on good stuff versus the bad stuff? Is this a bad stuff? I mean, explain to me if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's a big question, because there's a lot of things going on when you're going through perimenopause and menopause. Because what you need to understand is that we have estrogen receptors all over our body. So when the estrogen levels start to decline, it affects almost every bodily system, and that can lead to these symptoms. That not all women have them. Some women just glide through it and don't really feel anything, but some women really suffer. The areas that you need to focus on is bone health, because estrogen is a major player in bone health. So it's been shown in research that when women go through menopause and the estrogen levels decline, you can lose bone density and you can be at a higher risk of osteoporosis. So things to do for that, eating your calcium rich foods, or green leafy vegetables, dairy products, etc. Making sure that you're getting enough calcium, vitamin D, and also vitamin K too, because they kind of work together for bone health. Brain health is another key thing in menopause, because again, estrogen receptors in the brain, your whole body needs estrogen, and that can really affect your mood, and you can start having anxiety. Depression. Obviously, depression is slightly different than just mood swings, but 20% of women going into menopause will suffer from depression. So that's a key area, and that again is looking at eating a nutritional dense diet, getting away from all the processed sugary, fizzy drinks, energy drinks, all that. The sugar causes inflammation, and inflammation affects the brain. Affects everything, but the brain is one of the areas that it affects. So that's a key area. And also heart health. Heart health is a key area for menopause. The risk of heart disease goes up quite considerably for women that are slightly older in menopause, due to estrogen's protective effects on the arteries, and also your metabolism, so your triglyceride levels and everything. So there's a lot going on in menopause that we really need to look after ourselves and be aware of, because also your metabolism can be affected with these hormone changes, and you might find that you start putting weight on, mainly around the belly area, so the middle area, and it's like it all just escalates, and you can put weight on that can put you at higher risk of heart disease. It affects your bones because you're heavier. So there's so many different issues that you really need to focus on and look after yourself. You can get away with it when you're younger, but you can't really get away with it the same as you did, when you were younger. When you're older, you have to take more care of yourself.
Alison, thank you again. When ladies they go through this menopause, right? And you just said earlier about mood swings. Now, what does a spouse need to do to help with that moodiness, to make them feel better? What do we need to do to help the spouse and the relationship between the two? Because I have been seeing different issues when menopause happen, then the relationship breaks and the relationship is not good. So How do we bring them together? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that is an area that really needs to be discussed as well, because what I would think is, the majority of men, I'm not saying all men, but don't really understand what menopause is. So I think a lot of it is lack of knowledge. If a couple, the lady was to sit down with her husband and maybe, just in a nice way, try to explain that I feel like this because of my hormones. And, I don't mean to be snappy. I don't mean to be moody, but sometimes I just can't control it. And I think it's having, from the man's point of view, it's just having that little bit of understanding, and maybe not reacting immediately when somebody says something. But I mean, it also works both ways. I mean, I know myself, I'm going through perimenopause, and I'm normally quite a calm person, and I sometimes, with my husband, can I can be just so irritated over nothing. He can just be drinking a cup of tea, and I'll find that really irritating. And the best thing to do is just to breathe, take a deep breath before you react, before you say something that you'll probably regret. And also what I found is to take yourself away from that situation. So if you find someone irritating, or you feel you're going to just explode into a mood swing or something, maybe just move into another room, because that kind of diffuses the situation. But I think men are really great, and they really listen. So I think if you just sit down with your partner and try and explain what's going on, and say that I don't mean to be like this. This is just a phase of my life that I'm going through. And I think a lot of women as well, they come into menopause and they start to kind of reevaluate their life, and they think, well, hold on a minute, I've been looking, because women are carers, aren't they? And they've been looking after their family and the children, and they've had a career, and all of a sudden they're thinking, well, hold on a minute, this is actually my time. I want time to do things for myself. And I've seen that in relationships, that sometimes can cause a bit of friction, because the woman in a way says, no, I want to go and do this. I want to go and learn something, or go back to college, and have, in a way you would have less time with the family. So it can be difficult. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you again, Alison, for explaining that. We do need to help each other out to get get through this, and it is a tough journey when it comes to these things. I was going through your website, and you do nutritional therapy. Can you explain what that is? Besides, I mean, it's kind of explanatory, but I think it needs to be explained better from you, if you don't mind explaining.
Yeah, that's true, because not many people actually truly understand what nutritional therapy is. And it's basically the nutritional science. How a nutritional therapist works. I work with a functional medicine model. So I look at the whole person and really get to the root problem using the power of nutrition and lifestyle modifications. So nutritional therapy is using evidence-based nutritional knowledge to improve people's health and well-being. And it's very individual. You have a very lengthy consultation with someone and really get to the problem. Why, for example, if you were having migraines, it's not just sticking a plaster on that. It's actually finding out, why do you have migraines? What is actually behind that? Is it stress? Is it something you're eating? And then putting together an in-depth program for that person. Small steps, nothing too drastic at once, because if you're trying to change the way somebody eats, you have to do it quite gradually. And then working with that person on a one-to-one basis, giving lots of support and everything to improve their health. And it's totally amazing how you can improve people's health with nutrition and lifestyle change.
Yeah. Thank you again, Alison, for explaining that. In the beginning, when I was introducing you, I said, get your spark back, and I think that's what you said on your website. But now when I look at the services, there's this one package which it says reclaim your spark. Can you explain uh, about the spark issue? It's not really an issue, right? But it's more boosting, right? I think that's the right word.
Yeah,
So
it's
can
actually
you
spark.
explain? So can you explain what this spark and what this boost is, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. My is regain your sparkle, because a lot of where that comes from is that a lot of women, when they go into perimenopause, that they just lose their zest for life. You know, they start putting weight on, they start losing confidence, they start feeling tired. And, you know, I'm very much that midlife women should be full of zest and sparkle and that, you know, that twinkle in your eye and enjoying life to the full. So with the package that you're talking about, Girish, it's working with that person to find out why they've lost their sparkle. Why aren't you feeling like you did 10 years ago? And really helping them with support and nutrition and lifestyle modifications to get back to feeling how they were before, and, you know, with a skip in the step and a smile on their face.
Yeah, I mean, thank you again for explaining that, because it seems like everyone needs a boost once in a while and a
Yeah.
spark in their life. You know, as you explained about the bloating and not, you know, the sex life goes down. What do we need to do to bring it up? And I think your service is actually done well. And I think I've seen certain videos, and it's been great from your inspirational. So thank you again for coming here too and explaining to us about the details of menopause. But before you leave today, Allison, if you don't mind, do you have any last words for my listeners and my viewers? And how was your journey on Back to Basics, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I would say just some things that you know people can do if they're really feeling like they're struggling. The first thing would be is to get the knowledge, realize that you don't have to do this alone and there is support out there for you. You know, go and see your doctor, go to a nutritional therapist, get the support that you need so you can really start feeling better. Eat a Mediterranean style diet. Get rid of all the sugar processed foods and really try to concentrate on plant-based foods, lots of healthy protein, fats, carbohydrates from vegetables and fruits. And also one thing, also take time for yourself, self-care, prioritize yourself, and really allow yourself to have that time to do things that you enjoy. People always say, oh, my to-do list is so long, I never have time for myself. But your to-do list is never going to be done, is it really? So if you don't prioritize yourself, you're never going to have that time to de-stress and relax. So I mean, there's many things, but they're the key things that I would say today. I think Back to Basics is great. I think you're doing a wonderful job, Girish, and it's such a, you know, we do need to get back to basics. Like I said before, when you asked me at the beginning, the simple things in life are normally the ones that are most beneficial for our health.
Yeah. Thank you again, Allison, for being here and supporting me and giving the 2 cents of your knowledge of menopause. And guys, I think you should contact her definitely if you have any issues or any concerns. Just contact her. You know, there's one thing that I try to do in my show is to give as much knowledge as I can. So thank you again, Allison, for your help and the knowledge and supporting me on this podcast.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you, Girish. It's wonderful to be here, and it's so lovely to talk to you today.
Yeah, yes, thank you again, Allison. So, guys, we spoke with Allison today, and we talked about menopause, and we talked about nutrition. We talked about it's okay to have menopause, and what do we need to do to help each other out when it comes to spouses. We all need to listen when they are moody, when they are going through certain things. And how do we get over that? That's what Allison is trying to do on her website and her services. How to re-spark your boost, right? Or is it boost your spark? So, guys, as usual, as always, there is a quote of the day from Back to Basics, and hopefully my guest will like this quote. And the quote is, age is just a number. Life and aging are the greatest gift that we could possibly ever have. So enjoy your life as much as you can. Menopause can come, they can go, they can stay for so many years. But there's one thing that menopause will not take over, which is your life and your age. So guys, as usual, as always, what do I always say at the end of the episode? Everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care, God bless, and keep on commenting on all the episodes, including this one. And please support me in all the episodes, because I try to work as much as I can to bring all the basic topics on this show. And there are 3 things, including this episode, that it's always the best, which is the content, the guest, and definitely the host. Guys, take care, God bless, and I'll see you next week on Back to Basics. Next week's episode on Back to Basics.
You're in the what we call myopic or nearsighted realm, and if you don't have a minus but a plus in front, your eye is shorter and it's in the hyperopic or farsighted realm. And so with that, we have those measurements because we need to get your image or the things that you're seeing, which is on the, I would say, the film of your eye, which is called the retina. We need that image to be clear on the film. And so that's what those, the minus and the plus, it's optics.
Yeah, thank you again for explaining that.